Okay, so our final video for this week's work is having a little look at cutting out kind of holes or sections from our blocks. Okay, so vanishing points sorted, horizon line sorted, and then as with all our others, excuse me, leading edge built up. Okay, now again, I'll say it for probably about the 10 millionth time, I'm drawing darker than I would like you to. Okay, keep your lines nice and light while you draw, it'll make your life a ton easier. So, building up that crate or that object, we should be able to do these pretty quickly now if you've been kind of following the videos and doing a little bit of practice as well. Building up my sides, again you can see I'm using my ruler to help me keep it all lined up, and then I'm building up my wee back surface. So in this video, do kind of what I've done previously. I'll show you it just this way to begin with, where it's below the horizon line, and then we'll do a lower horizon line and I'll show you above and below and on different surfaces. So we're going to try on this one and imagine that if this is our little cube, we're going to cut a wee hole all the way through it. So this bit's essentially getting removed. And we're going to kind of use our vanishing points to help us do that and to keep it all lined up as it should be. So the first thing I want to do is kind of decide, I'm going to move my ruler this way, decide how big I want that wee hole in it to be. Okay, so I want to make it something about that height. So I've kept it lined up with this front edge and I've built that in. Okay, now what I want to do is run back to my vanishing point, and we did practice this in the first week. It showed you kind of how to draw on a surface near the end of the last video. So we've got that first little bit built in, we know it goes back, and then we just want to kind of decide how far back it goes. So it could be that it comes maybe that far back, maybe you want to do this as a couple of little bits, it's totally up to you, but you would just take the points and draw it in however you want. Now again, because I know this is what I'm going to stick with, I'm not going to add any more, I am just going to darken this up just now so that you guys can see it a bit more clearly. So let's build in this front edge as well. So we've got this kind of detail drawn on the surface. Okay, so that's almost like if we had a label on something, we might have some writing. Now actually, our writing would run to the vanishing points, but we're not going to have it as a label. Okay, we're going to have this as a hole that's cut in. So I'm going to rub out those little lines. And what we want to do is we want to now go, right, okay, we're cutting it through. So we're going to take this corner, and again, this is something you'll just naturally pick up over time. You'll work out what corners and things will be visible. So everything goes back to vanishing point 2. Okay, so all these corners, when they're turning that way, go to 2, so this corner is also going to run back. So it's going to line all the way. Now, it's up to you how much of a cut you take here. You could run it all the way back, okay, and we would really not see this stuff and it would just go this way, or you could just do it a certain depth. So you might say, right, I actually only want to cut it to there. So then I'd go right on the front, it does that, so at the back, it's going to do that. Okay, at the front, it runs to vanishing point 1, so at the back, it's going to run to vanishing point 1. Now this is a trickier video that I'm showing you here, okay, some fiddlier shapes for us to build up. We darken this little corner up, and then actually I'm going to rub out my projection line or my construction line just to make it a wee bit clearer to you watching the video. But what we've done there is we've cut out that little section. And you can do these cuts on any surface. It doesn't actually have to just be your top or your side or whatever. I'm going to do it on all of them because I've not gone to a full depth. So maybe I'm just going to do a smaller, or maybe I'm going to do a couple of squares on this one actually. I'm deciding the height of each cut. I'm running it back. Now I'm quite confidently drawing those dark lines because I've in my head got an idea of what I'm sketching so far. If you don't know how you're going to build up the cuts and things, just work the whole thing quite lightly. Okay, so I might say that first little square is just going to be a wee small one, and then I might actually say, right, do you know what, I'm going to do a bigger one. I'm also going to have one that runs beside it. So I've actually got 2 blocks at the bottom and 1 there, okay? And as before, I'm just going to darken up these lines just to make it a little bit more obvious for you guys what ones are what. Now if you have only got a pen at home, that's fine, just try and make sure, let me see if I can find a wee biro. There's one, a wee blue one. If we are working with pen, oh, it's brand new, fresh out the box, just try and press a bit more lightly. And you'll not necessarily have a lighter line, but it'll be a thinner line. Oh. So when we're building it up, we can work them quite light, and then once we're happy with our objects, then we can go over them a bit darker. Okay, so if you have only got a pen, don't worry about it. Pencil's obviously preferable, but obviously you've just got to use what you've got. So we've got our 3 little boxes now, and it's the same thing, because I'm going to take them back and they're going to become 3D. I need to go back to vanishing point 1. So I'm just going to really lightly, and I'm not going to go all the way back to my vanishing point here, I'm just going to kind of run back slightly. Okay, so it does line up, I've just not taken it all the way straight up, because that's what it does at the front, and then back to vanishing point 2, because that's what it does at the front. And again, I'm not doing the whole direction, but if I were to, I would just do it super light, and the same with that one, it would have been all the way back if I run it super light, but I've just kept it kind of pale, and that's us then got that wee section chopped out. And I can do the same on this back edge. I'm going to run it back the same distance and then straight up. Again, and we can rub out wee bits. I'm just going to rub up to make it a wee bit clearer for you. Okay, now please don't worry yourself if you are finding this really tricky. Okay, this is a lot more challenging stuff. This is kind of almost an extension if you are kind of quite confident with what we've been doing so far. If you are finding this tricky, go back to some of those other tasks that we've worked on previously, and just keep getting your confidence with those before moving on to something like this. Now, last object, I'm actually going to just make this one run all the way through. Okay, it's not going to have a thickness. Now, because it runs all the way through, it would actually be somewhere back here, so all I need to do is line up to vanishing point, and I'm just going to draw that hole all the way back, and that's us got that shape there. Now, what you can actually start to do if you are still kind of finding it a wee bit difficult to see what's going on your object, which is totally understandable, it's quite busy, there's a lot of lines going on there, you can actually take a colouring pencil. Again, if you've not got one, I've not got one to hand just now, so I'm just going to use my pencil, and we're going to just start to shade this in. So if you remember from first year, we looked at the kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that was the layers of colour we were using. So we held our pencil a bit further back, and we almost kind of ran sideways. Okay, now I'm going to turn my page sideways just quickly just now so I can build it up. So 1 layer of colour, 2 layers of colour, so I'm always using the same pressure. I'm never kind of pressing any harder. One, two, and you'll see there they are getting a little bit darker as we go. Okay, now I'm just going to draw myself a wee cube over here to help me when I build this object up. So I've got light, medium, dark, because my sun's always in the top left, and I'm going to kind of apply that to these objects. So anything that faces up the way is going to be light, and that's what I'm going to apply here. Now, we're not kind of going real life, so we know that this one's probably would actually be a bit darker, but just for the sake of what we're doing just now, anything that faces up the way is going to have a little light surface on it. So it's just going to have that one layer of colour. Now if you're finding that your lines are leaving kind of quite a, or your colour, sorry, is leaving quite a liney thing, with a writing pencil it's quite easy to just take your finger. Leaves it a bit grey, but it comes off dead easy. So anything that points sideways is medium. So we're going to go sort of a 3. So again, I know this is maybe not actually what would happen in real life in terms of our light, medium, dark, but just for the sake of what we're doing here, we'll just keep it easier for ourselves. Now you'll see, because I'm holding that near the end of the pencil, it does kind of blend the colour a bit more. I can't press too hard. If I hold it too far up, I'll end up with quite a harsh line. So anything pointing that way is medium. And you can, again, once you get a bit more confidence, you can start to apply this maybe with a little bit more pressure rather than building it up completely in layers. So you can see I'm just pressing a little bit harder just to save a wee bit of time so that you're not sitting watching this video for too long. You can get on and practice yourself. And then my last one, dark, level 5. So we're taking quite a harsh line, and again I'm just going in quite dark to begin with, just to save that bit of time, as I say. Now I'm holding it further back, okay, and you'll notice that is giving that really smooth line. Try to avoid doing it like this, because you get quite a liney thing and your paper will become quite bumpy, and it'll almost make it end up a bit shiny, which you don't really want. So we're holding that pencil pretty far back and we're able to apply that colour without kind of distorting the paper. And you just keep going and adding your shading. Okay, now once you've got the kind of hang of that, what you can then start to do is just go for it. Practice a whole bunch of different shapes. Maybe try a cube, cutting the corner off, rounding it off a bit with a fillet, and then cutting a few holes out of it. Seeing if you can come up with any kind of weird illusion type shapes where it kind of looks as though it's going on forever and things like that. Totally up to you. But what you can start to see there is by darkening up certain faces, we're starting to kind of be able to make out our shape a wee bit better. So that's the last video for this week, just having a play about curves, chamfers and cutting out bits. And if you get the confidence with that, feel free to just have a shot, trying loads of different shapes and let us know how you get on. Send some pictures either in an email to us or just pop them up in Teams and one of us will get back to you as soon as we can. Enjoy!